morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am Jeff Dawson, your host of East Coast Sports Investors Breakfast Bankroll. From Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei, from Vegas to the Vatican. Myself and our co-host Scott E. Webb has the market blanketed, where we hope to find some edges, maybe educate, not entertain, and cash some tickets. So without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, from the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is up?
Morning, Jeff. How are you today? And I guess wishing all those in Louisiana had a good night, even though it was a bad storm, and hopefully they are in a position of safety and they got out.
Yeah, we have a handful of family members in the Louisiana, New Orleans area, and a shout out to my buddy Marty Lowe, Mr. Bama Marty himself, watching the show. Hope your fantasy drafts went well, Marty, as I know they did. But I got some check-ins last night. All is well, so that's obviously a blessing. So glad to hear that. And no need to be a hero in these situations, especially when you're getting into those Cat 3, 4s, and 5s. Listen, you can replace the homes. You can replace everything. Just get the hell out of Dodge, come back, assess. That's why they have insurance companies, and we move on. So with that being said, we're a month away from the final lap of the MLB. We're getting that much closer to some football full-time. The first official week one starts up on Saturday. Overall, yesterday, kind of interesting. Favorites 8-6, over 6-7-1, and I talked, and I says we always talk about Sunday and the quicksand Sunday, and the people running to the window and just blindly picking the headliners. And one, of course, the biggest headline is the kryptonite, Mr. Greinke and the Astros. I mean, it was never in doubt. It was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And so basically, in a nutshell, if you were chasing, you most likely got stung yesterday. Thoughts on yesterday's action, Scotty?
Yeah, well, I thought it was kind of interesting. Luzardo had a good game, and that's why they got him. The kid can pitch. I mean, he throws 95, 96 miles an hour, and he's left-handed. So they just got to get him right, and if they get him right, that's a big deal. I mean, that was a good move for them if they can get him to pitch, because if you think about what the Marlins can throw out there now, they got that Rogers kid that they basically have been sitting now because he's pitched so many innings and so forth, and that kid was really, really good. And they have Sixto Sanchez, who hasn't pitched this year at all because of arm trouble. And if you remember last year how dynamite and electric he was. And they already have Alcantara. And now you throw Luzardo in the mix. And if he can be Luzardo that, is supposed to be what he is, they got a pitching staff. And that doesn't say a whole lot in a sense that, they can't hit. But, at a certain point, they've got some guys they can build around. This Jazz Chisholm kid's pretty good. And as they can kind of then reapply where their money goes, this is a team that over the course of a few years could be good. I think when you mentioned Greinke, you got to think about Greinke as an old veteran. He's just a guy who's either going to be on or he's going to be off, and more often he's going to be off than he's going to be on these days. And, I think Houston has an interesting dilemma, right? So think about who their starting pitchers are and who's going to be the number one guy in the playoffs. They're not going to put it. It's not going to be Greinke. So you can't make a soft tosser be your number one guy. So does that mean it's going to be McCullers? Does that mean you're looking at Garcia, who's pitching today, and he's been hit or miss? Who's going to be their number one guy? And does that mean that when they have their number two guy go, are they at a disadvantage or an advantage? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they don't have, some kind of an issue there where they're going to have to figure that out one way or the other as to how they're going to actually throw in a series against teams and who's going to be their horse that goes out there and pitches. I mean, let's just say they face, I don't know, let's say they face the Yankees, for example. So you got Garrett Cole that goes out in the first game, and he's probably going to be the favorite in those games. And then you have Jamison Tyon who goes out and he throws. Is he not going to be a favorite too? I'm not sure, depending upon who the pitcher is. If he's going to be facing Garcia or somebody like that. What if Kluber does well? I mean, he's pitching today. So you got to look at it from a perspective of where do these teams go, and they've got a little bit of time now to figure that out, and I think that's what they should be doing.
Yesterday, Sunday is our action parlay day. We had a rough MLB week, as I stated yesterday. We were on the wrong side of 3 games on the errors that cost us first fives, and we were, as I said in our alert yesterday, on our wrap-up alert, the wrong side of 2-out magic. So if you looked at my timeline yesterday, spitting a little venom, we put together a 4-team parlay at just over 10-1. I talked on the show yesterday about the 2 NFL games that had flipped in some big steam. We used one of them. We used the Niners money line. They went box to wire. We also talked about yesterday Jacksonville with the flip, and you gave some insight there. They went box to wire. But we used the 49ers. Box to wire, not a sweat. We used the White Sox. Box to wire, not a sweat. I kept, as I'm doing my cardio yesterday, I'm like, just get me to Oakland. Get me to Oakland. Because our 4th piece of the wheel was Oakland plus 136. We had the Royals yesterday. Okay. So bottom of the first, no men on, 2 outs. Ground ball error. Base hit, 1-0 Seattle. And it went to the 6th inning. We get a homer. It's 1-1. And then, of course, Kellenick batting 157 on my timeline clearly states he couldn't get a base hit right now in Williamsport. And 2-1. Don't worry, here comes Michael Taylor. 2-2. All right. 2 outs, no men on. Infield hit. In comes Seager. Boom. 4-2. We get one. Salvi hits the top of the wall. It would have been 4-4. It was 4-3. And we lose 4-3. So we basically, on that wrong side, I call it 2-out magic, from going 4-0 and hitting a nice 10-1 end of the week. And I'm not here to preach 3- and 4-legged parlays because they're hard enough to win one game. But it just, what ECSI has done the first 6.5 years is we don't dive into Sundays, whether we're up 5 units or down 5 units. You cannot win and you cannot successfully stay in the marathon game if you're going, when you're up 5 units, it's a free for all and it's a free swing. Or when you're down 5 units, hey, I'm going to get those 5 back plus 5. As you know, and I know, it just doesn't last. But anyways, NFL yesterday, we're 4-1 straight up. The favorites, 3-2 against the spreads. Thoughts on the NFL?
I'm glad that preseason's over. I mean, I think that these are boring games. I think that it's very interesting to see that there was really no dress rehearsal game for any of these teams. I think Jacksonville had the closest one where they wanted their quarterback to play as long as he could and the starters play as long as they could, and we talked about that yesterday. So that doesn't surprise me. And I'm just glad that it's over, and only because, there wasn't that many injuries this year as compared to some. I mean, I know that the running back in Baltimore got hurt, and it seems like wide receiver, the T.Y. Hilton gets hurt every year. But whatever. I mean, you're going to have nicks and stuff that happens to your team. Not that the kid in Baltimore is a Nick. I mean, he's done. So, but whatever. I mean, I'm just glad these games are over. They I guess got the looks of the team, of the players they wanted to see, and in regards to actual play. Now we'll see what happens. So. That also brings up a good question, and a good question basically is, why do we even bother with preseason games if if they just go out and are having these little scrimmages to see whatever they want to see, because ultimately you can, yeah, I get it, money, but you can see that these games are they probably get more out of the practice than they do the games. So I'm just guessing.
Well, here's the thing, twofold. They get more out of the inner squad where hey, the Saints are coming, we're going to practice with them for 3-4 days, then we're going to play them. And the fact that they can sell the season ticket holders 2 fictitious games at full price. And it's funny, I have a lot of friends that have season tickets to the Patriots, and they can't give away those preseasons. And to be perfectly honest with you, I rather go to a preseason game. Why? Because you can watch the kids, less traffic, and you don't have to worry about, in and out. And then when it comes full season, regular season, I just put the 8 games on the direct TV, and I don't have to leave. There's no line at the bathroom. I got a free reign at the refrigerator. The grill's always going. I don't have to pay for parking. So, it's a win-win-win situation.
Yeah, I've been to preseason games and stuff. So just going is a atmosphere that's fun to be there, and this season brings up an interesting dilemma. I shouldn't say dilemma, but an interesting concept. So next week, you would think they play these games, and they don't. It's the following week. So there's a week off in between. I mean, there's 10 days or whatever it is before that Thursday game that kicks off the NFL. So I'm going to be hard pressed when I start handicapping these games to really look at the head coaches, because now you have 10 to 14 days to put together a game plan against the opponent, and you don't normally have that. So I'm going to look at it from a perspective of a little advantages here and there that probably are going to suit some of the stronger head coaches against these teams than you would on a normal week. So I think that's a little bit of an edge you might want to look at.
Absolutely. And we're going to get more into depth, I think, tomorrow, Scott, and we'll talk after the show. What we might want to do is to get these guys a preview of what's coming up next weekend for some early looks in college, and then maybe talk about some potential futures in the NFL. The ECSI VIP crew was gifted the NFC yesterday, last night, actually. We gave out the winner of a division, the winner of the NFC, and a potential NFL Super Bowl champ coming out of the NFC. Out of the NFC, not named the Bucks. So we will get back to that as soon as that happens. And listen, I can foresee my team playing your team and your team hosting. I can see my team hosting as well. So we'll get back. Actually, we might have a New England clam boil versus we'll figure out what's good on your end of the world. Little wager, my team goes further than your team this year.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm okay with wagering on the Bucks. I think they're a pretty well-rounded, solid team that gelled towards the end of last year and didn't put it together the whole season. And this year, all 22 starters are back, and I think that they will be not necessarily. I mean, they're going to have a target on their back, obviously, but I think that they're going to be one of those teams that they can follow whatever script comes their way. So I think it'll be an interesting season for them for sure.
All right. I'm showing you the board right now. I have a lot of boxes checked off, and I don't want, to tie up just going over these boxes, but the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were at least 20 to 30 cent overnight, what I call adjustments. Some people call steam, but when they move that much, it's the sharps got the numbers and they were all leaning to one side. So it's the books releasing this to the public with where the sharps are basically leaning towards, with that said, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Lester Castillo, since he opened at 180, Pinnacle releases that to 203. Listen, Castillo, he was a cash cow for us once he got into rhythm, first fives. Lester's been better. I'm not calling him the Lester of old, but he's been better. So I'll leave that one there. Wheeler versus Gray, Phillies at Washington, opened at 182. Now 147. So again, the Gray kid, that's the kid that came over from the Dodgers in the trade.
Yep, that's the Scherzer deal.
Yeah, starting to get his sea legs, and Wheeler's been lights out. But kind of funny, there was a 30-cent drop there.
Hey, look at the first five in that one on the run line.
Hold on 1 second. Wow.
How can you not take Wheeler?
Something's going on there. That is insane. I mean, that's an autoplay the way Wheeler's been pitching. Something's crazy. I'll take this a step further, just for a second here. They got Philly most likely getting a 2, and they basically telling you Washington's only getting a 1 with an over 1.5, 121. The total's 4.5 juiced on. That's crazy, Scotty. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm on it. I mean, I'm like, I can't pass it up. So I'm just going to play it. I look at it like this. Gray's been pretty good, but he's not been Wheeler good. And he gives up, where's my number on him? He gives up 2.57 home runs every 9 innings. So the Phillies can hit home runs. So I'm okay with all they got to do is hit one or, pop one or pop two, maybe a walk and a home run. That might be enough.
Wow. All right. Back to my boxes checked off here.
Sorry.
Paddock and Gilbert in Arizona. Paddock opened at 166. Now 160. Actually, Pinnacle is at 181. So there was a 20-cent move there. Atlanta at the Dodgers. Smiley versus Urias. 20-cent move there. Dodgers from 181 to 208. Baltimore, Toronto. Obviously, Ray at 281, now 316. So almost a 40-cent move there. And the last one, Marquez at Texas with Alexi, who I know nothing about. Colorado opened at 146, now 138. So obviously you already talked about one of them. I'll bring the wagers talk side in once we need that. Thoughts on the 20, 30, 40-cent moves, anything other than the Washington Philly, which is a mind blower right there, but we'll get to that. So,
well, I had Castillo written down as a possible look into to see what's going on there. And one of the notes that I made with Castillo is that over his last, say month, his data numbers are decent. He's pitched pretty well. But he's not as dominant as he was there for a little while. When right after the break, and maybe just a little bit before the break, he was his dominant self. But over his last 7 starts, he's a game score 52. So 52 is just above average. And there was a time there where he was in the 60s all the time. So I'm at a position where I like Castillo. But it kind of goes back to a little bit of fear that I have with the Reds. So the Reds yesterday, I was on them, and I feel like I forced that play a little bit, only because the Cincinnati Reds are 28th in the league against left-handed pitching. And that has to mean something at some point in time. And I get it. It's John Lester, and John Lester's not the greatest left-handed pitcher in the world anymore, but left-handed pitchers seem to have some kind of thing over these Cincinnati Reds. and they're facing a left-handed pitcher. So that means you're going to be in probably a slugfest battle between these teams. And to be quite honest, they play each other all the time between Cincinnati and St. Louis. They're in the same division, so that they're not going to surprise them. They know what they're going to be able to do on both sides. So I think it's pretty even. I don't think there's a big advantage. So I just passed. So I get the idea that it's Castillo, and I get the idea that everybody wants to go in and run the money and put it on him, and they don't want to play on Lester, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. Yeah, or you got to find a way to play it, I guess, is the better way. So I don't like the first five, and and if you're going to start running and looking at team totals, right? What did they score yesterday? Was the game 2-1? I mean, it was like 2-1, and again, that's the Reds against the left-handed pitcher Luzardo, right? So I get it. Lester's not Luzardo, but that there's something there, and because of that, I just got to back off of that one. And you had talked about some of these other games, and they don't make sense in certain ways, right? So this kid Alexi, who's pitching for Texas, he's a minor league call-up. This is his first start in the major leagues. He was actually drafted by the Dodgers at one point in time back, I think in 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. So this is his first major league start. He has some electric stuff from what his numbers look like for AAA this season, and what he's done in AA this season. And his earned run average is in the 1. That's like 1.9 or something like that. But his projection isn't that good. So his projection is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 5 earned run average, something like that, where I think they're projecting him at 4 walks and 7 strikeouts today. So you got a guy walking guys against Marquez. That's not very good. But I can see why the number came down. I mean, the number came down too because Marquez has been the best pitcher in Colorado all season until recently. Senzatella is. And, Senzatella is one of those guys you never even thought of would be their best pitcher, but Marquez is about average right now. So I can see the number coming down. But again, at the same time, I think everybody's trying to entice you to bet those favorites, Jeff. And when you have a team like Colorado and they're a favorite, that doesn't mean they're going to win. When you have these teams that are streaking and running and leading the division, it's hard to beat those teams. And the reason that it's hard to beat them is because here's the bullpen rank right now for the last 14 days. The number 1 team, New York Yankees. Number 2 team, Milwaukee. Number 3 team, Houston. Number 4 team, gets the Philadelphia Phillies. Somehow they got in there. Then the number 5 team is the Chicago White Sox. The number 6 team is the St. Louis Cardinals. Those are all teams that are vying for playoff spots. And they're all right there. The teams that are at the bottom, Texas, Arizona, Washington, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. So the difference is you can go beat up on a starting pitcher, but how are you going to win the game if the bullpen comes in and shuts you down? And then those teams are good for a reason, and it's typically because they have guys that can hit. So I still think it's very hard to beat these teams. But when you have a team like Colorado, who are, they're an average team at best, they are on the road here. So that doesn't make them a quality play. Anytime they're on the road, they're not a quality play. They're a quality play only at home. So I look at this as a matchup that it's way too high, and I get all the reasons why they come down on that line. But now you're taking the value out of it when you've already bet it down so far. So I don't know. I just looked at those games and some of those games and said, okay, you're going to have a very big surprise coming for one of these plays that I like today.
Well, we're going to switch gears here for you. We're going to go. Let's move on over here, see if we can pull it up for the gentlemen and ladies watching today. And let's add it to the stream, and here we go. The stage is yours, my brother. Fire away.
The first note is just be careful with the Yankees today, not because I don't think they can win and not because I don't think Kluber can pitch well. But I think Kluber's only going to throw, 2, 3, 4 innings maybe. And the next guy in line to come in for that game is Heaney. So you got a Kluber-Heaney thing going on here. So I think you just got to be careful and know what you're betting in that game, because a lot of times people are going to go, oh, look, there's Kluber. He's not going to throw 7 innings. So you got to understand the next guy in line is Heaney, and every game he's pitched for the Yankees in the first inning, he's given up a home run or 2. So, it's not that he hasn't won the games and pitched well after some of those spots, but, he's given up the long ball, and of one thing that you got there is the home run leader in Ohtani. So we'll see what happens.
He is coming back to the Angels, so maybe he has a little snarl in his
that could be. I mean, that could be. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting thing for sure. I guess we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I was just a food for thought note. I have nothing to do or no interest in the game. But one of the games that I do have interest in, and I hate interest in this game, but I'm going to play it, is I played Minnesota and over today. Now, when I bet it, it was minus 120, and I can see that it's like 127, 129, 130, somewhere in that neighborhood now. I would not go more than minus 135 on him today, and that's against Mize in Detroit. Now, let me just preface this by saying, over the last 30 days, Ober has been the best Minnesota pitcher that they have as a starter. And Detroit Mize has been the worst starting pitcher for Detroit over the last 30 days. I know that doesn't sound right, but that's the way it is. Ober has a game score of 54 over the last 7 starts, and Mize a 48. And when you look at the numbers, the Sierra number is 3.57 for Ober, and it's 5.30 for Mize. Now, Mize only has 16% strikeout rate, but his walk rate's gone up. So it's 10% walk rate, and his swing strike percentage is only 6.8%. So that means balls are going to get put in play. And when balls are put in play, Minnesota is still pretty dangerous. So I kind of like the idea here that you've got a better pitcher and a good pitching matchup for Ober. And in fact, his swing strike percentage is 12.2%, Jeff. So balls in the strike zone, they swing and miss at 12% of the time. And the O swing, which is the balls that move outside the strike zone, 37.5% of the time. So he has got a lot going on. His walk rate is only 3.9%. So way, way better. And he's been pitching much better. So I like the idea that Minnesota can beat Detroit today. And remember, I just said 1, 2, 3, 4. Detroit's the 4th worst bullpen going, and they are also the 1, 2, 3, 4th worst offense. So I'm going to take Minnesota in this spot. I think that it's a good place to be. I don't want to take the half a run and all that stuff. I think they're just going to beat them. And I think that they're in a position to do that. So I like that particular one. And we talked about that Philadelphia game. I can't pass that up. You're talking about Wheeler against Gray. I already kind of made a comment there that over the last 7 starts for Wheeler, he's 59.1 game score. And for the season, he's a 63. So he's not that far off from his ace performance all season. He's pitched against Washington already 1, 2, 3, 4. He's pitched against them 5 times already this season. This will be the 6th time. And in every one of those games but one, he's been above average and close to ace-like in all of those games except for one time. So why wouldn't he throw really good again today? And especially because he's off a game score of 44 the last time out. So the very last time out's been not very good for him. And then with Gray, he's pitched one time against Philadelphia, but I don't really count just one time as a trend to work off of. But it does mean that Philadelphia has seen him before. So this is not like something where they haven't seen what he throws. So I kind of like the advantage and the edge here with Philadelphia, and I don't understand the numbers at all. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to bet it. What doesn't mean it's going to come in, but I think the value there is, I mean, I got first 5 innings minus a half a run minus 107. I don't know what it is now, but it can't be. It's a crazy number, Jeff. I mean, I can't believe the number. So how can you not play that? And then the last one that I think you're going to be really surprised. The Boston Red Sox come down here today, and they're going to play in Tampa Bay. But I'm going to take the Red Sox in the first 5 innings. I'm not even going to take the run or the half a run. I'm just playing them straight up. I got plus 125 on Pavetta. That's what I'm going to play. That's what I already did play. And here's my reasoning, right? So the Boston Red Sox are the number 3 offense in baseball right now. Tampa Bay just dropped out of the top 5, so they're in the top 10. Both of them are going to score. But Patino is the absolute worst starting pitcher for Tampa Bay. He's got a Sierra number 5.47, an xFIP number of 577. Strikeout rate's only 19.5%, walk rate 12%. So that means balls are going to get put in play. And that puts an edge to where Boston can get out to a lead. And if Boston can get out to a lead, I think that at least in the first 5 innings when Pavetta's in the game, not that he's the greatest guy in the world, and he's been getting beat up a little bit, but that does give them a significant edge if they're in front. And where the game gets kind of tighter is in the back end, where Tampa Bay's bullpen's a little bit better and might be able to tighten it down and maybe win the game towards the end of the game. But I like Boston here. I like Boston to at least hold their own in the first 5 innings and win the first 5 innings. And if it comes out at 3-3 or something in the first 5 innings, I get my money back. But I like that play a lot too.
And it's kind of for a Monday. It's kind of funny because Mondays have not been the greatest boards, and today offers up a lot of good matchups. And one that we didn't talk about is the Brewers. Brewers heading out to San Fran, and I think it's Cueto's second game back against Burns, and could be a preview of round 1.
That's what I was thinking too. I listed Burns down as a possible play, and I looked at it, and he's dominant against that team. Feels pretty good in that spot. It's just neither one of those teams are really hitting a lot of offense, so it really kind of looks at me like it's a toss-up kind of game. And if it's a toss-up game, I don't want the road team.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to close with this: is the market has really shifted again for the 98th time in baseball, and there was a good honey hole 7 to 8 weeks ago, and they basically have shut it down, and it's come to a screeching halt. Meaning, you can't get in there even in the first 5. So you used to be able to sneak in where there was like a favorite minus 200. You could sneak in there and do the minus half run for minus 120, 122, or 123. But you can't really even do that now. But what I wanted to add here is you got to go to the next couple layers when you're looking at these games. And that's a perfect example, okay? You got 2 good pitchers. You give the edge to Milwaukee. Then you look at their team totals, and then look at the under-over for the first 5. You really can't give up a half run if the under-over for the first 5 is 4. I mean, they're technically telling you 2-2, maybe 3-1, maybe 1-1. So, if you're getting the 4.5, 5 first 5 totals, you have a little wiggle room when you're giving up the half run. But when you got those tight 4s, I've even seen 3.5s, just stay away. As much as you want to get in there, stay away. Enjoy the game. You don't have to force the action. And that's the hard part for most people, especially it's Monday. It's a new day. It's a new week. Saturday is the first official week to college football. They want to build that bankroll for the following week because it's week 2 and it's NFL opening week, and kind of scratching that itch a little. The dog days of summer are gone. It's fall, it's football weather. But what we try to do here is just to educate. Listen, if the numbers don't add up, just don't play. That's all.
Well, I mean, both of us are in that spot where we're not action guys. I mean, we don't advocate having 13 plays a day. That doesn't mean that you can't have 13 plays a day. There's a lot of people that are successful in a sense that they go, I don't know, if you have 13 plays and you win 8 and lose 5, you win a little bit, and you had money all over the place. So I mean, some of those people are that way, and however you want your bankroll and your fun of enjoyment of betting on these games is up to you. But I don't look at it that way. I want to have a list of, say, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games I had listed here, and then I kind of listed them back and peeled back to where I only have 3 plays. That doesn't mean that if I peel back and think that I can bet all 6 of them, I won't. It just means that in this particular day, on today, I have these 3. So I think that it's really important to stay in your lane, and because things are coming up, right? So Thursday, I think there's, I don't know, probably 10 college football games on Thursday. There's a handful on Friday, and then there's like 50 on Saturday or something. So now you got these 50 games on Saturday plus the 30 or 15 games of baseball. What are you going to do? You're going to go out there and put out 15, 30 plays? I mean, you got to control things and narrow things down to where your edges are, and kind of highlight what those edges are, so that you're not in that spot where, holy cow, oh, that looks good, I'm going to throw this out there, And here's a favorite new trick that I'm doing on Twitter, for example. Man, I see all these guys doing stupid stuff on Twitter, and I don't want to see it. So I don't care that they're following me and they want to see whatever I put out there. So I just hit that little button in the top right corner, just hit mute. And when you hit mute, you don't see any of their stuff no more. So all the stuff that's misleading to you, all the things that are running you ragged, all the things that are in your timeline that is not what it's supposed to be, they're still going to be following you. You just mute them. So nothing's going to affect your statistics and all that kind of stuff of how many people you're trying to grow your account to. But your timeline will be realistic of the information that's most critical to what you're doing. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. And I always say this, especially on Saturdays, when the college football, there's 100 games, college basketball, there's 100 games. We send out alerts, no time tables. I mean, we could send out 3 alerts on a Friday, on a Saturday, 3, 5, 7 games total for the day. Okay. But the fun ones is you send out your first alert, and there's the 12:30 game, there's the 3:30 game, and there's the 4:00 game, and you go 3-0, and then everyone's chomping at the bit, because now they're back home. It's 7:00. You got the 7:00 games, the 8:00. You got the Pac-12 games, and of course you got the Hawaii game at midnight. So you're 3-0. You're happy. You made 3 units, and then everyone's like, Now what? We want more. And I'm just like, you know how hard it is to win 3 units in one day? And like you talked about the action guy, what's the difference between going 3-0 and 10-6? It's the same thing, after the juice, but that's the action. That's the adrenaline. That's the, oh, I got this, you know what I mean? And that's what we are not here. And so that, I thought we would close with that. And we're going to have so much more on this bankroll management discipline as we go through the fall day to day here at the Breakfast Bankroll. So from myself, Jeff Dawson, Scotty Webb, you can follow us at Webby20 MLB on Twitter, and myself at EC Sports Invest. Do us a big favor, head on over to YouTube at the East Coast Sports Investors. Just subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. Turn on your notifications. And then while you're there, just jump on over to Twitch at Breakfast Bankroll. Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and follow us there as well. Always remember this. If you are wagering this evening, bet with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number. There's plenty of people out here to reach out and help you. Stay in your lanes, please. Don't get over those ski tips. It's a scary ride out there. And just take it day by day, one game at a time, one unit at a time. So we hope to see you tomorrow. Potentially myself and Scott could have 2 shows. So we'll be breaking down some MLB, and then we'll be talking some football as well. So best of luck today. And again, New Orleans, Louisiana, prayers out there. Keep in touch for all the ECSI family out there. And thank everyone that watched and even sent some comments. Marty Lowe, Roll Tide, Bama, the preseason favorite to win, not just the SEC, but to win it all. But I think Georgia and a couple other teams might have something to say about that. So best of luck today, and we will see you tomorrow.